Hello, everyone. This is Venus Brown, and I am back for the season 3 finale of House of the Dragon. Yes, I'm finally done. Finally ready for it. All right, y'all. I really loved this episode. I don't know about y'all, but I thought it was great. I know there are some people that had problems with it. Frankly, they're the same sorts of problems that I've had kind of throughout the season. But I feel like it was engaging enough, interesting enough, and it kind of tied back some of the fucked up storylines enough to make me a little bit more happy about the flaws throughout the season. And I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. I really enjoyed watching this episode. So my letter grade for it, I've been going back and forth on this. Do I want to just give it an A or an A plus? Yes, I think it's that good. I I think I'm gonna go with an A plus. Like maybe between an A and an A plus if there were such a grade, but there isn't. So I'm gonna go A plus, even though like I said, I've been going back and forth on it. but just because of how much I really loved it. And I do feel like it didn't really fix all the stories, but I feel like it made them better enough that it really fixed what I was feeling about them. It fixed the concerns that I've had with them throughout the season and the upsetness I've had with them throughout the season. Okay, I'm going to go through the themes and then we're going to watch my breakdown. My breakdown is pre-recorded because I have editing and stuff in there to get rid of my pauses and coughs and stuff like that, and to add in some images and things like that. Spoiler warnings, although I don't think I really put visual spoiler warnings this time. I just said if I thought a spoiler was coming up. Usually I'll put a visual one also, but I did not do that. Anyway, so themes for this episode. Treason was very obvious. It was happening throughout the episode. And I wouldn't even just say treason. It's like treason and turning your back on people. So Rhaenyra turning her back on Mysaris. Treason of Mysaris. Treason from Ulf. Treason from the Hightowers all along. They've been constantly committing treason. Just like this treason with Ormond. That's just even worse, in my opinion. Good God. I don't know. Can you call the Queen doing something that goes against the people, against the laws and stuff like that treason? I'm not sure, but I feel like that definitely happened. What else? Subterfuge. So not just treason, but like doing these insidious things to cause fucked up shit to happen in the war that maybe I think goes a little above and beyond the pale. So I'm gonna say that. Subterfuge. God complex. We're seeing that from Rhaenyra, from Daemon, from Ormond, from Ulf, like Aegon. Aemon seems to have lost his god complex. So really a lot of that going on this episode. Bad storytelling. I pulled this out especially for Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra going out and telling the entire town about her prophecy and not doing it in a way that they're necessarily going to believe her or appreciate it, and also doing it in a way that they're probably going to think she's crazy. Plus, saying stuff in High Valyrian when she knows damn well that they can't understand it, which maybe she did that intentionally, but really, and I get that what she said in High Valyrian was wrong, she just doesn't know that. So I will let that go because she doesn't know. All right, revelations. So we had several revelations in here. Revelations coming from Helena. We had the revelation of Alice's backstory. Revelation that Ulf had turned cloaked and turned his back on everybody. Basically just started burning up everybody. So a variety of revelations. And I think Alice is going to have an important revelation coming up, and I don't know when she's going to get it. Gwaine and Darren, when they go and talk to the other side to try to I know these are a little bit spoilery because I'm doing it ahead of time, but trying to sue for peace. and Daemon tells them that Aegon is risen and is back with his gimpy dragon. Yeah, that was definitely a revelation for them. And then Ormond, when he finds out that they did try to go and sue for peace, when he had this big plan, His big plan just wasn't going as expected for a while, so they were freaking out. And their idea to deal with what was freaking them out was to sue for peace. So, yes, again, spoilery. Sorry. Let's see. Innocence. Not in a sense like we have innocence. Innocence, like innocent people. These innocent people that whose lives are being put on the line, they're being used as shields, they're being like just really being treated awfully. That innocent people being used and abused, which honestly, frequently people do shit like that. It's fucking terrible, but there is way too much, even currently in real life, of people using innocent people for their own advantage. Okay, I'm having a little difficulty reading my writing. What the heck does that say? Oh, planning on the fly. So with the battle that's going on, with the revelations that these people are having, with everything that's happening very, very quickly, there is a lot of planning on the fly going on. People making their plans and then having to adjust their plans right after they make them. People finding out something and having to make a giant plan right away. Things like that. Planning on the fly. Cracked eggs. So both people that were already a little fucking cracked or a lot fucking cracked. I'm talking about Ormond and Aegon. And Aemon too. Why not? And people cracking more. So Rhaenyra definitely cracking in a couple different ways, at least. I think we might have even seen a little bit of Daemon cracking, not to the point of insanity, more like cracking from reality, like he's coming to a point of reality. And then Helena has been a little bit cracked, but I feel like she has been gradually getting more and more cracked. And I think really, like I've said before, these visions that she's getting as she gets closer to them, I think it makes it more and more depressing for her, harder and harder. Like that culmination of her entire life is coming close, and that's got to be hard for her. And I think she has definitely been feeling the weight of it a lot lately, and especially in this episode. All right, ends. A lot of people ended on this episode. Some storylines ended on this episode. Some of the big storylines that we've had that were from the book, some of them that were added that were not in the book, have ended today on this episode. So I say today, but on this episode they ended. So I think some of those storylines and those people I will miss. Some of them I am glad they're gone. All right, and the last one is evil people, like people being fucking evil. What the fuck, Ormond? What a fucking evil piece of shit. Oh my god. Cannot stand him. And not in the way that I couldn't stand Cole. Like, I enjoyed watching him on TV. He is very interesting, but he is jacked the fuck up. So, hated him, but didn't hate watching him. All right, now we're going to go ahead and watch my breakdown. And then I will, so long as I remember everything, I will do my favorites and least favorites. And I got a whole slew of honorifics, and I'll say maybe not so honorable honorifics for today, because why not? And then our rest in peace rest in peace section, which hopefully I will remember because I don't always remember to do it. All right, let's go ahead and get this breakdown started. All right, everybody, it's time to start our breakdown. But before we start, let me introduce my little dog. Isn't he cute? Direwolf, whatever. I haven't decided quite what to name him yet. I've been thinking Winter, Snow, Jon Snow. I don't know. Any ideas? Just chime in the chats. Anyway, we have a very eventful season finale, and I have been very happy with it. A lot of the complaints I've had throughout the season maybe still exist a little bit, but I feel like this episode made up for a lot of it and was really, really engaging. Really got my attention, even though a lot of horrible shit was happening that I really would rather not happen. It was great fucking TV watching. I loved it. Orwell comes up to Rhaenyra, brings her the news. He is risen. I'm like, he is risen? He's risen again. Like, are we talking about Jesus? No, we're talking about Aegon. Aegon, come again. Yeah, he's risen, and this sends Rhaenyra into just complete upset frustration, maybe anxiety attack. I don't know if I'd go that far, but she is upset. Very, very upset. And Daemon, of course, takes this as his opportunity to veer Rhaenyra straight into the destruction that he has always wanted. She gives in, tells him to root out all these high towers, kill every damn one of them, except for Aegon. She wants to kill that motherfucker herself. But then adds a little caveat. Don't make me into a monster. I'm like, this is Daemon you're talking to? Last time you thought somebody was going to carry out your violent orders without making you into a monster? That's exactly what they did. They made you look like a monster. Not that it matters. All these other guys are doing shit that's monstrous as fuck all the time, and nobody calls them a monster, but whatever. Double standards. They existed there in the fictional world. They existed in the past, in the real world, and they exist now in the real world. Baela confronts Rhaenyra. She is upset. She wants somebody to go looking for her grandsire, and Rhaenyra ain't having it. Rhaenyra's like, he made his bed. He's the one that went out there on his own. He didn't need to do that. He was supposed to be here working for me, doing his job as hand of the queen, and he took himself out there, putting his life on the line. Right now, we have more pressing things to take care of, and that's what I'm going to be doing. Baela proceeds to say it's all her fault. She's the one that did this. She keeps using people like tools and then abandoning them as soon as she has no use for them. But some of the stuff she says also is like about her being used over and over again to go find these dragons to the point that they're tired and hungry and all of this other stuff. But she herself had begged to continue going out fighting with her dragon, even though people are like, you haven't eaten anything, you need to eat. How much of this is her trying to prove a point versus her putting herself in this position, at least somewhat? Either way, she does have a point. Rhaenyra uses these people when she doesn't have use for them. She kind of tosses them aside, neglects them, treats them badly. Even when she does have use for them, she treats them badly. But this isn't really different from anybody else in Game of Thrones that's leading people in a war. War is not nice. Leaders in Westeros are not nice. So I find it kind of amusing that when somebody that is a female is not nice like everybody else in Westeros, we try to call them evil, hysterical, and all this other shit. Yet we don't do the exact same thing for the men in the same positions. But she also calls Rhaenyra out for abandoning her sister, abandoning her father. Rhaenyra's like, yeah, I should have freaking abandoned you when you did what you did with Jacaerys. And she's like, perhaps. but you needed my dragon. And Rhaenyra was not having that. She did what most adults do when they get mad at somebody younger than them. Called her a name like an insolent child. You know how they do. Insult the kid for being young, stupid, unwise, doing stupid things. Yeah, because they're young. That's kind of what they do. Same as you did when you were young. Alan addresses some troops that are wanting to look for Corlys, but he insists that Rhaenyra has other plans for them and they need to be doing their duty. And they're like, well, who are you to fucking tell us what to do? And he's like, I am the oldest son of Lord Corlys, named successor and future Lord of the Tides. Now, my thought is that Alan has been working side by side with Corlys for some time, whether he's been named as successor or not. These people should know who the fuck he is. They should know that he's been in a pretty substantial leadership position. And he's definitely been working right along with Corlys. So questioning who he is makes me question who the fuck they are. Like, where the fuck have you been that you don't even know who this guy is? Maybe you want to get your asses in line. Ormond has this knighting of Daeron, which I don't know. It's very different from the books. The books, Daeron actually had intervened in one of the battles and actually won that battle for them. But they fucking left that shit out of this storyline. So it looks like Daeron really hasn't done anything. So he's being knighted just for the purposes of making him king. And the whole thing it muted the whole thing. We see Ulf drinking, spouting off about Rhaenyra, the bastard queen, about her husband, brother, uncle, whatever, just talking shit about Daemon and Rhaenyra, insisting Rhaenyra ain't gonna use dragons and Daemon ain't gonna use dragons because he's on a short leash and Rhaenyra ain't gonna let him. But the situation has changed. It has shifted. And if you expected Rhaenyra to stay like this all along, you really haven't been paying attention. She already treats you like shit while she's trying to actually keep her temper. What do you think's gonna happen when she loses her fucking temper? And he's like really insulting the Rhaenyra household. I am not so sure that everybody in that room is on the Hightower side. Like, the Hightowers came in and took their entire city captive. I suspect there's a few people in there that are loyal to Rhaenyra and don't really appreciate this language. But whatever. Back at King's Landing, Helaena is not eating, but Rhaenyra's not quite ready to deal with her yet. She wants to go to the Septon and get crowned. In the meantime, she does tell somebody else to kind of take care of Helaena, get her ready to be seen by her later. Either way, Rhaenyra's doing a lot of stuff very quickly that people don't understand. I don't think everybody has gotten the news that Aegon has returned. The town is seeing this as a sign against Rhaenyra and for Aegon. I find it a little odd that they're all like praising Aegon when Aegon has been a shit king. Yes, he was a puppet, so maybe they didn't notice it as much. And he got himself severely wounded pretty much right after he started trying to do anything. So maybe they just don't know any better. Plus, religious people just taking anything they see as a sign that does happen even now today. In the meantime, Viserys has been released. No more coochie licking for her, at least not on Rhaenyra. She is being sent to Pentos, but she does manage to escape a little bit later after some chaos with the horse. Needless to say, though, Viserys is not pleased. As she's on her way out, Helaena sees this horse, which was in her dream. And Helaena is wearing the same garments that she was wearing in that dream. And this gloomy look goes over her face. She looks like she has some idea of something that's going to happen. And then Viserys stops her, warns her that she is going to be held a prisoner there because of her baby, that Aegon has returned with Sunfire. And part of me wants to be mad at Rhaenyra for holding her prisoner and stuff like that. But part of me thinks that some of Helena's dread is that Aegon is back. Aegon has not been good to her. Aegon has been a horrible husband, not the greatest father, and treats her terribly. So I think the next things that happen with Helaena are not just on Rhaenyra, even though she definitely unloads on Rhaenyra. I think it is the culmination of all this awful shit that's happened to her and how much dread all of it's causing, along with these visions that she's had. She knows something is up. She knows something's going to happen. And I think the closer she gets to it, the more dread she feels. Back in Harrenhal, Aemon is waking up and Alice tells him, yep, you're alive, thanks to me. But they proceed to kind of trade stories about their cursed life. And Aemon asks why she would stay with him. He's a kinslayer, blah, blah, blah. And so she proceeds to tell this story that turns out to be her story. When Balerion demolished this castle, destroyed it in fire, killed almost everybody in the line, but the son lived, even though he was badly burned, and his mother did not want him to die. His mother tried everything she could think of, hired physicians from all across the realm. Nobody could help him, so she started turning to magic, to darker forces, to older forces, to try to help him, but nothing was going to help what the dragon fire had done. And the boy eventually dies. And when he dies, she says that she tried to go with him. Now, this mother she's talking about apparently is her. She said it's the Lord of Harrenhal, but from my understanding, he was actually the king of Harrenhal, which would make her the queen. Not necessarily a ruling queen, but the queen. And she says the curse, the price of playing with all this old magic, trying to keep her son alive, meant that she would be stripped of her title, that she would be stuck there, forced forever to continue on living, would not be able to leave with her son, and forced to stay within that area of the Riverlands, serving these men one after another as they come to lead over Harrenhal. So that means she did have a title. That means she was highborn. So now this attempt to get Aemon to make her with child to possibly regain a title because of him, I'm not so sure it's about that. Maybe it is. That might get her this recognition and title, because it felt like when Daemon said that she wasn't going to get Harrenhal because she was a nobody, because she had no title, it seemed like she right away started to proceed to set things up so that she might get a title by getting with child, marrying Aemon. But listening to some of the other content creators, one person suggested that there might be something more sinister afoot, that she may have been intentionally setting things in place against both sides, so that both sides are losing and gradually causing these dragons to be killed off, continuing this war, dragging it on longer until eventually the dragons all die. Now, Gray Area suggested that, and I think that is a very good idea. Like, if she feels like it was dragons that caused her all this misery, that started this whole thing that brought her into this position where she feels cursed, and she may feel like getting rid of these dragons once and for all might help her. Rhaenyra goes to talk to Helaena, tries to convince her to eat, tries to convince her to take care of her baby, make sure that it lives, and Helena's like, you act like death is like the worst thing. There are things worse than death. She also confronts her about what she's doing and about how terrible this would be to their father. And Rhaenyra tries to spin it around on her, but Helaena is seeing right through her. She talks about some beetle with certain markings that make it look like a turtle, that it is very beautiful. And when Rhaenyra tries to act like, oh, well, you'll have to show it to me in the summer, Helena's like, you don't care about this stuff. You don't care about any of it. You're pretending, like you're pretending with everything. She tells her that what she's doing is ugly, that this place is ugly, and that Rhaenyra herself is ugly. Still refuses to eat, so Rhaenyra decides that she's going to have her guards force feed her. And spoiler for what's to come in the episode, but that is going to be the last time that Rhaenyra sees Helaena alive. Adam's confronting Alan about the shit that Rhaenyra's doing, this dark turn she's made, that she's making Baela sit it out, so they're obviously not in agreement. Alan is trying to convince him that they should be going to fucking get Corlys out of there rather than leave him there to end up being killed. But Alan is determined to follow Queen Rhaenyra's orders. Back in Tumbleton, things are not looking good for this plan that Ormond has to have Ulf overtake the other side, fight these people off. I mean, honestly, the idea that you're just going to use Ulf to overtake the other side, to me, is kind of stupid. Daemon has Caraxes, and they can at any time call other dragons to their defense. And he refuses to let Daeron use his own dragon. So to me, it doesn't make good sense. Yes, it works with the plot of the story because for some reason Daemon only uses the dragon one time, then he gets off and they have no other dragons with them at the time because I think they were counting on Hugh and Ulf to be doing their jobs as they were told when Ulf already turned cloak. And Hugh decided he's not going to be over at King's Landing protecting King's Landing. He's going to be over in Tumbleton looking for his wife. But Darren's talking to Gwaine. He does not feel this thing looks right. He's thinking he's going to go and take his dragon. Gwaine is deathly afraid this kid's going to get himself killed. So he's trying to talk him down. But Ormond's fucking brought kids out on the battlements so that everybody can see them and to try to discourage them fighting each other or have these kids fucking lit up in fire. This guy is fucking off his goddamn rocker. He is so horrible. So horrible. Either way, Gwaine tries to convince Daeron that there might be some other path because Darren's like, I either fight or I run the fuck away. And Gwaine's like, I got something else. Let's try something else. And we'll see that later. Mysaris is on her ride out of there, but the horses go crazy, and this gives her the chance to escape, which she takes. Rhaenyra is taking Joffrey with her to go over to the Sept, thinking she's going to convince the Septon to anoint her. And in the meantime, I assume she's going to be telling Joffrey the story, just like she did with Jace. But later on, we see that she's not just telling Joffrey the story. Rhaenyra thinks she's going to go to the Septon. She's going to get him to crown her, the same Septon that already turned her down. And I'm like, I definitely don't think that's going to happen. It's definitely not going to go the way that you intend. And it doesn't. He refuses. She decides that Alan's going to kill him off. They have a battle of words first about whose gods are better and whose gods are going to be more problematic for the other. Then he meets his end. But then Rhaenyra goes out to the people and proceeds to tell all of them the story that she was told by her father, of the prince that was promised. She doesn't necessarily do the greatest job of it, and when she says that she's the prince that was promised, she says it in Valyrian, so only the people that speak Valyrian, which are very few and far between, are going to have any clue what she's saying. But before that, she does make clear that she sees this as a prophecy that she is going to fulfill, and that she is going to save the kingdom from some dark, vague, ominous threat to the north that I don't think most of them have any clue about. I do wonder, though, if Orwell has some idea of what she's talking about. Kind of doubt it. But they do have the freaking wall to the north that they have an entire army of troops pulling security at for their lives, basically, for a reason. So maybe there's some threat that is understood beyond the wall that some of the people know about. I don't know. But they looked at her kind of like she was crazy, but they also looked at her kind of like they might have some fucking sneaking suspicion or have heard stories or something. Couldn't quite place the look, but I think one of those two. Back at Tumbleton, Ormond's trying to figure out where Ulf is. He's fucking missing. Daemon's trying to figure out where Ulf is. He's fucking missing. Daemon's trying to figure out why Hugh is here when he's supposed to be at King's Landing. But then he's told that this Hightower person is on his way. It's Gwaine. with Corlys being held prisoner. He's got a peace agreement he's trying to make, but it ain't going over well because Daemon really doesn't want peace. Daemon really never has wanted peace. He's wanted this war. He's wanted to fight pretty much anybody, and especially the Hightowers. There is a huge fucking hate-hate relationship between Daemon and the Hightowers. But then Corlys starts talking and gives him another option. Different one than what Gwaine was proposing. Different than what Darren had proposed. But it gets the discussion going, and eventually shit happens. Daemon threatens to kill Gwaine, scares Gwaine off, and then says he's taking Corlys prisoner, which lasted about 30 minutes, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it was really longer than that, but show-wise, it lasted for like a minute. While Corlys is trying to provide some alternative, Daemon tells them about Aegon being back with Sunfire, and apparently they don't know. Harrenhal, we hear dragon wings, and part of me thought, well, maybe it's Vhagar. Maybe Vhagar has come back. But no, this was Sunfire with Aegon. Aegon has come for his brother. Aemon drops to his knees, sees who it is, says that he was dead, and his brother just slaps him across the face, calls him an imbecile, and says, "I'm alive!" It was hilarious. But then he confronts him about trying to kill him, and Aemon just proceeds to beg forgiveness, to talk about how he would be completely justified to kill him, that what he did was wrong, that he did try to kill him, that he tried to take his throne, begs forgiveness, and Aemon's like, no, what the fuck? This was supposed to feel good. What the hell are you doing? Aegon's like, this is what we're gonna do. I'm not ready to fucking forgive your ass yet. We're gonna go and take care of some shit. You're coming with me. We'll work as our little brother duo. You will make amends for what you did, and then I will think about forgiving you. And Alice, in the meantime, is sitting there, no, you can't take him. And he's like, who the fuck is this? And Aemon says, it's my betrothed. And I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. Daemon's going over some battle plans. He's got these ideas. They sound all good. And then somebody comes and tells him about all the kids that are lined up on the fucking embattlements. And Daemon, being the fierce child killer that he is like, no problem, let's just burn him up. No, that's not what he does. Because that's not actually who Daemon is, even though people think sometimes that he is. He can be very, very awful and very, very evil. But I think he's got a little bit of a soft spot for kids, like most people do, most sane people. Apparently, Ormond doesn't have that same soft spot. He's been using kids all over the fucking place, including his ward. So Daemon changes the plan, asks Roddy Ruin if he is still waiting to die for the queen, who of course agrees, suggests that he go over the embattlements, get that gate open, and then once the gate is open, he can do all the dying that he wants, but please not before then. Daemon's gonna take Caraxes from the other side and burn down this gate. Now, is it just me, or does Roddy the Ruin kind of remind you of Lady Mormont from back in Game of Thrones? Because their mannerisms and characteristics in some ways definitely remind me of each other. Anyway, Roddy the Ruin is leading this procession. He's waiting for something to start, and he makes a joke about these guys being child touchers, trying to egg them on to start something. Somebody finally shoots an arrow, kills the guy next to him, and then that leads him to proceed with leading the soldiers in this huge, not really battle cry, but rumbling and drumming and pounding on their shields and making lots of noise, which is scaring the shit out of the little kids up there. But they should be fucking scared. What Ormond did to them is fucking horrific. Just fucking horrid. Roddy the Ruin calls blades out, bellies in. They proceed to fucking run forward, climb these walls, kill, yes, a couple kids in the process. Really awful, but these are not good men. They are good fighters. And Ormond hears about these terms that Darren had gave that he knew nothing about, which of course makes him very upset. And he's on a rampage trying to find Ulf, having not much luck, but he does finally find him. Beats the shit out of him, kicks the shit out of him, calls him all kinds of names, which isn't surprising at all. But honestly, the stuff that he utilized to bring Ulf in concerning the way that Rhaenyra and Daemon had treated him was partially to deal with the ineptitude of Ulf. Ulf being who he is, a drunk asshole. So even though the stuff they were doing turned him against them, it was also to try to control some of his worst urges. And Ormond did nothing to do that. So Ulf was just doing what Ulf does. And Ormond treated him much worse. He is going to pay for that later. Meantime, Daemon's altered plan is in effect. He is using Caraxes to burn down the gate. They throw out a whole bunch of kids right before he gets ready to burn the gate. And he's like, go, leave, run away. And Caraxes growls a little bit, which causes most of them to run away. Unfortunately, 2 others just stood there. I don't think they were being brave. I think they were frozen. I think they were petrified and couldn't move. Either way, Daemon is not the kind of person that's going to give them a second chance. It kills them, breaches the gate, and then Caraxes shoves his head in there and starts growling. It was glorious. The gate's been burned down, the Northmen have come to the front of the castle, and then they have this whole other regiment veering over to the other side of the castle. Now that Ulf's been reawakened from his lack of consciousness on the shitter, been beaten and kicked and insulted, he's on his dragon, he's doing his thing. People think, yay, he's come to help with us, but no, he turns around, starts lighting them up. Right after we get to see Roddy the Ruin beating Ormond, Ormond stabbing him, chopping off his arm, and then him stabbing him in the ass. Ulf goes right for them and says, yeah, I'm gonna fucking light your ass up too. And he just starts burning everyone. He don't care what side they're on. He's just burning everybody. Daemon's fighting like Ormond's second-hand man, and they are both doing quite well considering. And the guy tries to poke out Daemon's eye with his thumb, which it looks like it didn't work out completely. But I was like, oh my god, now he's gonna really look like Aemon. Either way, they go at it for quite a while until Ulf burns everything so much that they kind of get trapped there. And Ulf makes a couple passes around. Then when Daemon can finally see some shit, he starts fighting these people again, but he also sees the fucking destruction and the devastation. And it actually looks like he is really moved at that point, like really sees just how devastating this is. This thing that he's wanted for so long has some really fucking high costs. And he's seeing it, but then he snaps back into his fighting mode and just goes crazy. Either way, this stuff with Ulf burning everything up, this fight that Daemon is in, him being trapped like that, and then seeing all like the aftermath of all this burning reminds me so much of when Queen Daenerys turned on King's Landing and tried to burn everybody in King's Landing. So many parallels. Hugh finally gets where his wife was staying, but she appears to be gone, and this sends him into a state of anger and grief. I'm pretty sure this is where he is going to turn. Everything that he was doing this for has just been taken from him. And I don't know that he's going to see any reason, not even sure that he's going to care what side he's fighting for. He may just want to fucking burn the shit out of everybody like Ulf was, except for very different reasons. Daemon is fighting and fighting every freaking high tower that he sees, every one of the other side that he sees, and then Corlys stops him, tells him the fucking city's lost. We're done. We're leaving. Ulf turned on everybody. We got to get the fuck out of here. And then as Rhaenyra is coming back from her stop at the Starry Sept, where she told everybody in town about this great prophecy, she heads up the stairs and her personal maid stops her with, "My queen!" You could see something really fucking devastating happen. We knew that Helena was in a really fucking bad state. We know she's been having these visions. We know that she feels trapped. We know that she can see right through Rhaenyra's fake smiles and attempts at treating them nicely and everything. And I think most of us knew that Helena was not long for this world. Whether you're a book reader or not, the writing has been on the wall. Queen Rhaenyra goes up to her room. She sees the window wide open. The same window, I think, that Tommen killed himself from, dropping out of the window. We see the curtains hanging there. We see her tapestry hanging over the windowsill. Now, somebody had suggested the possibility that she might have been trying to actually escape. I just don't think so. It did not look to me like the tapestry was attached in any way that she would have tried to climb out of there. And the curtains, for the most part, were on the inside of the window, not the outside of the window. So there is the possibility maybe she may have tried to escape, but I don't think so. I think she was accepting her death. And if you look at the tapestry, it shows her death right there on it. So she knew what was going to happen. Rhaenyra reacts kind of like she's been reacting to a lot of things on this episode, without a whole lot of empathy or feeling at all. Looks out the window, closes the window, grabs the tapestry and looks at it. Sees not only Helena's death on it, but also her death. And there is much more to that tapestry. I would love to be able to just like look at everything on it. We've seen bits and pieces of it, but it looks like there's a lot more. It's very, very interesting. And that's the end of the episode. So now back to my live self. All right. Oh, and here's my little dog that I got. I still haven't named it. So any ideas, go ahead and put it in the chats. Anyway, so let's see. What do we got left? We got my favorites and least favorites, and then a whole like list of honorifics or not so honorifics. So my favorite scene, when Ormond and Roddy the Ruin were fighting each other. And Ormond like gets a stab into, I think, his gut or something like that, and then he turns around, he slices his arm off. And when Roddy the Ruin's arm is up in the air and it's just squirting all over Ormond, and then Ormond vomits all over the place. I thought that was hilarious. That is my favorite scene. Just fucking loved it. Worst scene, Alan killing the Septon. Now, the problem I had with this was similar to the problem that I had with the knighting of Darren. With Darren, there was context missing because the storyline was not carried out the same way in the TV show that it was in the books, which I explained on the breakdown. But for Alan, he's like not the right kind of person to be doing something like this. Rhaenyra should have already had some sort of henchman or something like that could do that kind of dirty work. Somebody that is not necessarily killed or not necessarily skilled in battle and things like that. She might not want to send him out to war, but somebody who's a little more insidious, who enjoys or at least is okay with doing dirty work, like killing people, like torturing people, stuff like that. Even though she is fairly new, back in the area and everything, and she hasn't had a lot of time to get people together, I'm pretty sure Damon probably would have known some people that would have qualified, that would have been good candidates for a position like this. And if he wasn't, before all of the King's Watch and shit, or the Gold Cloaks were killed off or left, probably one of them would have known a couple people that would be good at that kind of job, so that person should have already been in place. There should have already been a person to do that kind of dirty work. There should have been with her. Like, she should have been prepared to possibly have to kill this Septon, and if she didn't feel that she should do it because of the way it looks, then have her henchman on hand. Alan is not a fucking henchman. Alan is a dutiful soldier. Let's see. Future Boy says, Rhaenyra not big on the person who passes the sentence should swing the sword. True. I also think that the entire thing with the Septon looks very bad, no matter what way it goes. But having the Septon killed, whether she does it or somebody else does it, is going to look very bad. probably good that she kind of did it behind closed doors, but that's still going to get out to the masses. But I think her doing it herself would look even worse. So I don't blame her for having somebody else do that. And she hasn't really had to kill a lot of people. She has been very poorly prepared for rule over the realm. I mean, honestly, I blame a lot of what's wrong with Rhaenyra and her queen position on her being just piss poor prepared for this position. Ned Stark said that. Yes, he did. But Ned Stark was a very different kind of person. There are many people in Game of Thrones that do not hold to that kind of idea, that don't care about that kind of idea. So yeah, and we all had, I think, a lot of respect for Ned because he was like that and because the way he was. But like I said, there's a lot of people in the world of the world of Westeros that don't, like, I don't think they even think that way. And it is kind of typical of a ruler, royalty, to have somebody else doing a lot of their dirty work for them. Okay, let's see, where was I? Okay, so that was the worst scene, Alan being made septon, because I think he's the wrong kind of person to do that. He has been dutiful, but he is not like a cold-blooded killer, and putting him in that position to me is wrong. You're putting him in a position where he's going to look bad to everybody else later on, and he should never have been put in that position. She should have, like I said, had a henchman already that could do that kind of nasty, dirty work that doesn't give a shit what the people think. All right, VIP of the episode, I gave to Gwaine. I know a lot of what he was doing that was good was directly for Darren, because he cares about Darren. He doesn't want Darren dead. He doesn't want Darren harmed. All of that. But I felt like he was really doing the most in this episode to try to steer things in a more positive direction. Rhaenyra is short on henchmen, true. 5 of her Queen's Guard have died so far. Yes. I talked about this a little bit before, is that I felt like Daemon, and before all of the deaths with her Queen's Guards and her gold cloaks, before they all started getting killed, before they all resigned, like that should have been one of the early things she did. That Daemon should have known somebody that probably would have been a good candidate, and probably one of them, a couple of them probably would have had some idea of a good candidate for that position. To me, that should have been something that was done early on, because you're taking over a position that was usurped by your siblings, or usurped by anybody. You should be ready to fucking get people killed, whether it be by you or by your henchman. To me, you should have already had a henchman, a henchman, whatever you want to call it, or woman, on hand. Like, that should have been something that she did early on, and she did not, so she was not prepared. And she utilized somebody in her circles that needs to be respected, and put them in a position where there's going to be a lot of disrespect, I think. I hope that does not come back to haunt him, but I worry that it may. Let's see. So, as I was saying, VIP, Gwaine, he was mostly helping because he cares about Darren. But I felt like he really was one of the only ones that was really trying to do stuff to help the realm, to help alter that battle so that it went into a better position and didn't fucking kill everybody and didn't harm a bunch of innocent children. She should hire Black Alley. I agree. And I think they definitely should have given Black Alley more screen time and some actual lines every now and then. That would have been nice. Like, they did not do the best job at, like, really presenting to the people who exactly Black Alley is. Because we know, if we have read the books, who Black Allie is. But if you never had read the books, like, for quite a while in the season when we would see her, it would be for a split second. She just looked like a kind of like back character that nobody would even know about. The only reason that people did know is because they had read the books and they had looked into it. So yeah, she definitely should have gotten more screen time. Okay, piece of shit of the episode, Orman. Again, yes, I've given it to him before, and I don't usually like giving people the same title so like close to each other. But goddamn, he fucking took a bunch of kids, put them on the embattlements, on, I think it's battlements, I keep saying embattlements, but I putting them on the battlements, and then he fucking takes a bunch of kids and throws them in front of the door to be lit on fire if Damon decides to do that. And as far as I understand, Orman and most of the Hightower family believed that Damon would definitely kill kids. Like, he had no problem with killing kids. Even though that's not really how Damon is, they believed that. They definitely believed that. Okay, so Gwaine is the only one with common sense, it seems like. Though Damon humiliated him, poor Gwaine. Yeah, I feel like Gwaine is the kind of person, like, he seems really nice, and like Roddy the Ruin was saying when he was commenting about him, like, he doesn't look like a tough guy. He doesn't look like a guy that can fight. He looks kind of small, lanky, like that kind of thing, maybe weak. And I don't think he is weak, but he comes across that way. And because he is so nice, he also comes across that way. So yeah. He I think is a target for that kind of thing, especially in this kind of world, especially in war. But yeah, he's the only one fucking speaking some goddamn sense about anything, trying to fucking do anything to make things better. Rhaenyra's gone a little off the deep end, which I knew they were gonna do. I kind of hate the whole Mad Queen storylines. I've always hated him, but I knew that was part of the story. So I knew it was eventually going to come, and I knew that they had been leading up to it. And I complain about it almost every episode because I hate it. But I knew it was coming, so I guess at least I was prepared. Was stuck with Looney Cole only to get stuck with Looney Orman. Oh God, Glenn can't catch a break. That is so true. And oh God, I was thinking about this. Like, he stuck with fucking Cole for so long, and he did not leave until Cole just pretty much made it blatantly obvious that he was just going to get himself and everybody else killed. Like, Gwaine stuck with him no matter how fucking gloomy and fucking annoying and aggravating he was, no matter how much he was doing shit that was going to get them killed and get their misery extended longer. He just stuck with him until it was blatantly obvious that this guy was killing him, was just trying to kill everybody. And the fact that he left when he did, on one hand, that kept him from most likely getting killed because of what Cole was doing. But then he ends up in the middle of this battle because Orman's being a fucking fucknut. Like, just cannot catch a break. And he has been, like, he is nice, but he has been one of the most intelligent characters, I think, in the series for a while. Like, I used to have respect for certain other people, and they have not been doing their job, and they, like, I think they are intelligent, but they are refusing to do their jobs, and just not doing a good job because of that. But anyway, okay, let's get to other stuff that I had on here. Okay, so the most glorious scene to me, Caraxes, when he puts his head through the gate. I just loved that. That was great. Grossest, I put grossest but most awesome, but I don't know if awesome is the word. It's just, there's something that was kind of cool about it. Not cool, just, I don't know, some sort of positive. Gross, though. Very gross. Ulf on the toilet scene. Like, his balls are, like, it looked like his balls were literally sticking out. And he's just, like, on the toilet like this. I was dying. And then he gets fucking beaten, kicked, and spit at, and all kinds of shit. Because Ulf is just trash. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, most enjoyable couple this episode, Aegon and Aemon. Just seeing their being reunited and the way that whole scene played out, I thought that was awesome. I loved it. And honestly, I think it was like one of the only like actual like couple scenes, except for Hugh finding his wife who appears to be dead, which sucks. But anyway, laugh out loud, shitting is exhausting work. Sometimes it's exhausting when you gotta shit and it just doesn't come out. But sometimes when it does, it's like, oh, what a relief. I know, I'm just terrible. Just terrible. Okay, let's see. What else do I have? Okay, most awful for the people. Ulf destroying everybody, taking that fucking dragon and lighting everybody up. Like, he definitely caused the most problems for everybody in the realm. And I mean, I know it's just Tumbleton, but right now Tumbleton has a lot of people in the realm all converged on it. So just really like terrible destruction. It's gonna really cause problems for the people. The people are gonna, like, the people already, I think, felt like they were in dire straits, like they were in really bad position, and that's just gonna make them all feel so much worse. And then all those families that lost their family members, that's just terrible. Yeah. Ulf has the highest body count by far. I wonder if he has the highest body count in the series. I doubt it, but maybe. We'll have to see if the show writers put any body counts into this that we can find that out. Okay, the biggest revelation to me was that Alice used to be the Queen of Harrenhal, and now she is this basically cursed witch that's stuck where she is because she used dark forces to try to bring her child back, which didn't work at all. Like we've seen some, I think there were a lot of storylines in this episode that really parallel a lot of the episodes from Game of Thrones, and this was one of them. Definitely paralleled some of the stuff with Daenerys. So not Daenerys. Well, maybe Daenerys and the person that she was working with, trying to keep her husband alive, trying to bring to take care of her unborn, that kind of thing. I felt like there was a lot of parallels with that. All right, where was I? Okay, so yeah, Alice's revelation I thought was the biggest revelation for the episode. And now I'll do the rest in peace after I've got a video I want to play. Hopefully it doesn't shut off because this is a HBO thing, one of the HBO things for I think the making of the episode or something like that, and usually I can play those things without them cutting them off, without it getting a copyright violation, but it's not guaranteed. It's never guaranteed. Alice might be playing the long game to take revenge on the Targaryens for killing her son. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that In fact, I thought I was going to say something about that. Where did I put it? That's very weird. I thought I was going to say something about that. Well, anyway, I was going to say that it seems like possibly, I might have said it in the breakdown, that possibly now that we know all this about her, that maybe her end game is actually setting the both sides against each other and extending this war out as long as she can, so that all these dragons just gradually one by one die until there's no more fucking dragons left. So both getting back at the Targaryens and getting rid of the dragons. So that would mean that there's more than just the High Towers, the religious, the seven pointed star people that want the Targaryens gone and want the dragons gone. Alex Littlefinger. Oh yes. Oh yes. Okay, so I'm going to put this, it's an 8-minute video on, and hopefully they don't take anything down, because like I said, it could get caught for copyright. They could pull it down. Usually when I play stuff like this, they allow it. Sometimes there's music or something in there that they'll say something about, but then I can usually go back in and tell it to replace the music with something that is allowed, that doesn't mess with copyright. But usually stuff like this, interviews, behind the scenes, things like that, I play them and they go okay. I have heard of other people getting their stuff taken down, but so far I have not, as far as I recall. So hopefully this will be fine. And then once this is done, I plan on doing my rest in peace section. And I got a little he is risen section right before that. Because he is risen. Okay, so let's see. This is going to be right here. Okay, and I will try to mute my mic. If I need to say anything, I'll unmute it, but I just think it distorts the sound if I have my mic on.
War has arrived in Westeros.
I must see the Queen!
Rhaenyra discovers that Aegon is alive, and that's quite a shock to her. Suddenly, her world is turned upside down.
The thing that really gut punches her is this idea that it's being touted as this Arthurian, Christ-like resurrection that shows that he's meant to be the chosen one. The Song of Ice and Fire, the prophecy, all of that is meaningless because now the Faith have this male claimant that they can raise up. Rhaenyra struggled with it all season long, but she's realized at the end she finally has to just become Daemon Targaryen, essentially, if she wants to win this war, and now she's going to fight this to the very end.
Killing the High Septon is insane. You know, she's killed the Pope.
When she steps outside of the Sept, she has to find the words to give to the people, and that's where you see her make her speech.
I don't
and
think
lay
it's
out her
completely
vision for
insane,
her
but I
reign.
think she should have done it
It's a
behind
total
closed
Darth
doors where
Vader
nobody
moment,
could have seen
and she
her.
looks quite fearsome.
Found
Rhaenyra has
out
been
about
really
it,
trying to shed
make
the
it
prison
look
of femininity. Her
like
arc this
something
season is so
else,
much the search for
some kind of
legitimacy.
conspiracy.
This is about fascist imagery. This is about iconography.
Nike! Kyrio Darlaros Ixan!
Rhaenyra understands the threat that Mysaria is to her because Mysaria has become so close. She is a confidant, a lover, an advisor.
Rhaenyra has chosen a path, and it's the path with Daemon. And there's no space for someone like Mysaria, who, in a way, is kind of like her moral compass. It's really disturbing for Mysaria. There's real shock and guilt, actually, because suddenly here's this person who is a fascist that I helped to raise up, which is completely against all my beliefs.
Darren's looking out at the townsfolk, and he is worried this battle, which is in his name, is going to affect these families. That weighs on him quite a lot, and is what spurs him on to want to be a leader. He didn't want to be king. It's almost a responsibility because of the way Ormond's jeopardized these people's lives.
Daemon is a man who is made for the field, and he's been waiting for this moment the entire season.
The interesting thing about Daemon is I don't think he cares if he's got 20,000 people or if he's got his dragon and his dog. As long as he's got a sword in his hand, he will fight to the death. It's what makes him feel alive.
I'll have to check that out. I'm not like a regular Zelda watcher,
Daemon's
but
Super
I
Bowl.
have
He gets to show
watched
up on
Zelda
Caraxes and win
stuff
this
in the
war for
past.
Rhaenyra.
Gawain has realized that his cousin, Ormond, is mad. So he figures, I'll give them back the sea snake, and I will proposition them with an idea that, you know what, why don't we let Rhaenyra rule most of the realm and just let Prince Darren rule down here, just a little area, and be fine. Or you can just have a bloody battle, which is just pointless death. And guess which one Daemon chooses?
That scene was about two opposing factions, not just Hightowers versus the Blacks, but war versus peace, and what that means for the realm.
The next man to stall on this attack will be tied to the front of my fucking horse!
One of the ways Ormond recruits Ulf is by appealing to the shame Ulf felt when Daemon struck him in the street in front of his fellow townsfolk. Ormond, in a fury, finds him and then does exactly what Daemon does, strikes him in the street in front of everyone, and yet again Ulf is shamed.
Ormond doesn't know this, but he's just made the biggest mistake of his life.
The whole battle spins on a dime, all because one man felt embarrassed. The power of shame. It's amazing. You can have all these huge, big armies, big set pieces, and the thing which really dictates the story is something so small and domestic.
I'm burning you lot, and you, I'm burning you lot too.
There's definitely no winner at the end of season 3. It's just death and destruction. It's hard to be anti-war
There's no
without
winner of the whole
glorifying
friggin'
warfare,
thing. Like
because you have to show it.
It's supposed
But what
to
I hope
be.
the audience comes away with
Everybody
is not the
loses
swinging of
on this
swords,
shit.
but the aftermath of the swinging of swords.
We're entering into the end of days phase of the Dance of the Dragons. Armies really don't matter anymore. What's going
So
to matter
true,
coming into
future
this
boys,
endgame
so true.
is who's got a dragon and which dragon is on which side and fighting for whom.
When Aemon discovers that his brother's alive, it's a moment of total disbelief.
Because of everything that he's gone through in Harrenhal, he's changed, and he realizes that actually he's a pretty bad person.
He's really let down by the fact that he's wet and pathetic. So it's like, pull your fucking shit together. Get on this dragon with me and we're going.
He's torn between Alice, the new life that he envisioned for himself, and going back to the past to his brother, Aegon. And those two loyalties and which one he chooses, I can't wait to see.
The opposition have got more artillery now, so he's looking forward to engaging in full nuclear war. Revenge, revenge, revenge.
Helena sews this beautiful tapestry in which we find an image of herself falling.
Helena's draw is nature in the outside world, so there is poetry in the fact that she genuinely throws herself into the world.
Yeah, I agree.
Helena
and they
has
said that
realized
in
that she's a
one of the
prisoner in an
behind-the-scenes things
inescapable
also.
prison. Even if she does get out, so to speak, she never really will be out. She's carrying the king's heir. That child will be either a pawn or be taken from her and killed so that it can't make a claim to Rhaenyra's throne.
I don't think she knows fully that Helena is dead, but I think it's just this huge pang of intuition. Something awful has just happened and something has severed, and she doesn't know what.
It's a magic going out of the world when a Targaryen dreamer dies. As rare as the dragons are, the dreamers are even rarer, and now to know that we're going forward without one of these in the line spells a certain darkness for the days to come for the Targaryen dynasty.
At the end of episode 308, Rhaenyra is left sort of alone in her castle.
Rhaenyra begins the season doubtful of her rightness. And I think by the end of episode 8,
yes, she
is
did.
resolute in her wrongness.
She tried to do all
It's
kinds
an
of shit
arc
for nothing.
that started with tremendous amounts of hope and ends in darkness and desperation.
This is a giant crucible, and everybody comes out the end of it wizened, a little bit harder, more corrupted, and we just love where we leave off at the end of the season, even though it's another bit of a cliffhanger, so to speak. It's a hook for the next season.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and the next season, gosh, like I am looking forward to it. Not just because I really enjoyed this last season, but also I'll get to see the end of the story. Like, I read the books, but I think it was around this point in the books, the parts that are still intact from the books, that I don't know, like, I felt like it started getting more boring to me, and I started paying less attention. So I really retained very little of the books after this point. I mean, I think even as I've been discussing this, there's been points where I just like don't remember most of it because I had just forgotten about that stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing this last season just so I can pick up some of what I missed in the books. And yeah, I know it's going to be a different storyline because they keep changing the fucking storylines and everything. But I still feel like it will be nice to kind of get a better picture of the ending that they show on the show. I probably will go back. I listened to the book on Audible, so I didn't physically read it, but I listened to it on Audible. And I probably will go back and play it again on Audible just so that I can actually listen and pay more attention to the ending than I did the last time. But I really enjoyed this season. Last season was lacking in many ways, and I blame a lot of that on these companies like Netflix and HBO. I've been noticing a lot of them in Prime, and a lot of them doing things to shorten seasons, make them do different things that really fucking kind of rip at the fabric of the story they're trying to tell, and I hate that. The How It Happened wildly different than the book. Hold on, I gotta go to a different page to get a better look. Is wildly different from the book, but the end results, what happened, is the same. Yeah. I know somebody that I watch was talking about, oh my gosh. I think they were talking about how nobody's winning on a certain thing. And I was like, but honestly, nobody wins in this. Like, the whole story is really about how these two families are fucking duking it out. They're fighting, they're killing all their dragons and all their people. Nobody ends up really winning. They have somebody that's on the throne at the end, but nobody ends up winning because they've destroyed so much. Like, the cost of this whole thing is so terrible. Season 2 was a mix of writer's strike and budget cut. Yeah, like there was so much that was going on that was messing it up. So part of me was like, I understand, and so I'm willing to like let a bunch of stuff slide, but I also recognize that because that stuff was happening, it was causing a lot of problems. But even now that the writer's strike is over and everything, I'm seeing shows that I really enjoy watching that are being cut down in episodes. It seems like several of them that I really like, it's like every season they're taking 1 or 2 episodes off. And I'm like, why are you doing this? You're just making it worse. And the gaps between seasons have become so large that I just feel like it's not a sustainable way to keep doing TV shows. But they've been doing it for a while now, and frankly, COVID social isolation is over. It's time to try to do what they can to get back into a little less freaking lengthy gaps between seasons. Stop freaking cutting episodes every season. It's frustrating, and it makes it so you have to create these condensed stories that don't work very well because you're condensing them so much. And the showrunners don't seem to know how to condense them in a good way. It's like they'll show you a bunch of shit that doesn't need to be seen, and then they'll try to condense a bunch of important story in, but then they'll leave a bunch of shit out that is important to the story. So I find that frustrating. There's so many shows with big gaps between seasons. I lost interest. Yeah, and I don't tend to lose interest. I will go back and I'll watch them if I like them. But it is frustrating. And like these shows I react to and I do discussions for, I try to keep up with them. So I'm constantly like trying to go back and check, okay, when is this stupid show supposed to be starting? Because it's so long, you lose track of it. And then like now I've got there's one show I plan on doing reactions to later, and they still have it down as starting sometime in 2026. Like, to me, it's late enough in 2026 that every show in 2026 that hasn't started should already have a date, but it doesn't. It just says it starts in 2026. And I'm like, how am I supposed to fucking plan from that? But yeah, I do keep watching them. If it's something that I'm not that attached to, eventually I'll get bored with it and I may stop watching it. I almost did that with Walking Dead. I don't do reactions to Walking Dead because I was so far into it by the time I started doing reactions that I was just like, I'm not gonna even bother. Hot D, I won't miss. I'm a Song of Ice and Fire junkie. Yeah, I feel like there were so many things they could have done with this series to make it so much better. I remember when I was listening to the show and I was like, there were these parts where I was like, oh, I would so love to see this on TV. I'd so love to see it in a movie or a show. And they've gone all the way through the parts that I could remember feeling like that. And some of them they just completely took out. And I'm like, why the fuck would you, why would you do that? It sucks. But it is the nature of the industry, I guess. It sucks. Oh yeah, I didn't do my rest in peace. Okay, so before the rest in peace, he is risen. Aegon is risen. He is risen indeed. Like when Orwell went and told Rhaenyra what was going on, and I'm just like waiting, like, okay, exactly what did he tell her? And she goes, he is risen, and I'm like, oh my god, like he's risen indeed, and that's exactly what it reminded me of is church, where they say he is risen indeed, and I don't go to church anymore, but I used to. So it definitely reminds me of that. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's my he is risen. I just had to. All right, rest in peace. Ormond, yay! I'm glad you're gone. I did very thoroughly enjoy seeing you on screen. You were a horrible, horrible person. But I'm glad you're gone. I'm glad you're gone. And I don't have to see you anymore, even though you were enjoyable to watch on screen. And I will say the same thing whenever Aegon is gone. Same. All right, Roddy the Ruin. I think that was the kind of death he was hoping for. He got himself a just glorious death. I definitely think I was very happy for the ending that he got. I got to tell my husband about like why the men of the North do this, why they're like so willing to just like go out and die in war. I'm Team Aegon, hoping he'll get a redemption arc, but he'll probably screw it up. Yeah, I feel like right now he wants revenge. He wants vengeance. And so it's going to make a king that already was very flawed an even worse king. That's how I feel. But no, I've never really been Team Green. I've always been Team Black, especially with the book. But even now, I think Rhaenyra is inept. I think her whole team is inept as fuck. But I think the other team is also inept, just in very different ways. So I just feel like Rhaenyra never should have, this never should have happened. I feel like her fucking father should have properly prepared her and should have done a shitload more to prepare the kingdom. And also probably shouldn't have kept the High Tower so close to him. But he was relying on them. He thought that they were trustworthy, even though I don't think they were. But anyway, let's see. Okay, so Roddy the Ruin, loved his death. The boys at the gate, that was so sad because, like I said in the breakdown, I don't think they were standing there because they were trying to be brave. I think they were scared shitless, and when you're scared shitless, you either, it's usually fight, flight, or freeze, and they froze. And like I said, Daemon's not going to be willing to give them a second chance, so they all got lit up, which sucks. And then the little boys up on the embattlement, the one kid in green that tried to hit Roddy the Ruin on the ankle, and he just turns around and axes him to death. That sucked. Awful. But it's a war, and I am going to blame Ormond. He fucking put them there. He put them there, and it just should have been a line too far. Even though I think Ormond is cracked in the head a bit, I think that's not an excuse. I know some people are psychotic and shit like that, but even psychotic people can do the right thing, and they can make judgments like not fucking putting kids on embattlements during a battle. And he just fucking doesn't seem to have a line. Most of the kids got away from Caraxes. Looked like only 2 got torched. Yeah, I think the 2 got torched. And the only one that we saw got killed up on the embattlement was the one kid that hit Roddy the Ruin in the ankle. But I would assume there are more kids that got killed that we just wouldn't have seen all of it. Sad. Alright, let's see. Everyone in the battle, on the green side, on the black side, all of the, oh my gosh. The Northmen that were going up the ladder that got oil fucking poured on their face. That is horrible. Kid who hit Roddy. FAFO'd. Okay, what is FAFO'd? I know I probably should know that, but I don't. So yeah. all the men on the blacks and the green side, just lots of death. Lots of destruction. Fucked around and found, okay, yep, yeah, he fucked around. He's like, I'm doing what they told me to do. Just terrible. Like, they never should have put kids in that position. But they're being fucking led by Ormond, the person who apparently doesn't have lines. Alright, and then I have Septon Barth getting killed by, and that beeping is my stupid robo vacuum. I will get to it in a little bit. Septon Barth getting killed by Alan, and he was going on about how he has the gods on his side, but honestly, I'm like, you don't. I'm like, it's not the gods are on your side, it's you. This is your idea. This is your plan. I don't think you give a shit about what your god actually wants. But this is the way that a lot of these leaders in I don't even know what their religion is called. I just know they praise the seven-faced God. But it seems like a lot of them in the stories and on the shows just like get so zealous and crazy, and they create this fervor and zealotry and craziness from their people. And only when they have a leader in place that knows, that like really understands how to harness it and how to neutralize it, do you end up with an actual decent situation. And most of the shows that they have on air now, that's not what happens. We're not getting the stories where the king or queen in place actually knew how to harness the religious right, basically. We're getting the ones that are like screwing around with the religious right, think they can control them, find out they can't control them, and just end up causing mass destruction amongst their people. Was it that the Septon didn't accept a woman ruler, or did he really have conviction and believe Rhaenyra isn't the rightful ruler? I think he believes a woman should not rule. I believe he also works for the High Towers. I think that if it had been the other way around and Aegon had been and Rhaenyra had usurped the throne from Aegon, and then Aegon came in after he had anointed Rhaenyra, that he would have had no problem anointing him. That's what I think. I think it is primarily the misogyny and primarily the I'm the head of the religious factor, and if you don't do what I want, I'm going to make you miserable. Oh, that's right. Seat of the Seven is still in Old Town. Yeah. They're very highly connected. Now, in Game of Thrones, I don't think that they're that connected. I mean, they are still in Old Town, but I don't know. I don't feel like it has the same gravity for the High Towers that it did on this, but I think the High Towers have been trying to like get in for a while, and that this has just been part of their plan. I think they really thought that Viserys was going to change his mind and switch his heir to his oldest son after he had a son. And when he didn't, I think they just started plotting this stuff out. And I think the religious right in their situation had a lot to do with that. King Baelor moved the seat to King's Landing later on. Yeah. Yep. Okay, let me go shut my vacuum off. Or at least get it out of here. All right. I'm almost done here anyway. I think I got through all the rest in peace and everything. Got through all my favorites and least favorites. I know there were other things that I wanted to talk about that somehow I forgot, but I think I got through most of it. So I always have tons of notes, but then I usually somehow like I'll end up I'll talk about something and then I'll compile it with something else that actually happens later, and then I'll forget to talk about it later, or I'll talk about it again later. It ends up ridiculous. MVP Dragon. Oh my gosh. I'll do an MVP for the episode. Oh my god, I don't even know if I can give that dragon the MVP. I feel like Caraxes. I feel like Caraxes, because he did eventually chase fucking Ulf away, but it was at the very end and it was too late. I feel like if fucking Damon had stayed on Caraxes, Caraxes could have done a lot better, but I feel like he actually did more in the episode to steer things into a better direction. I think the prettiest dragon this episode is Darren's dragon. I don't remember its name. I think that's the prettiest dragon this episode. And the prettiest dragon this season to me is Dreamfire. Dreamfire is gorgeous. Just gorgeous. And the most derpy is Sheep Stealer. I don't know, though. If we could get a good glimpse of Sunfire now, Sunfire might be the most derpy now. Yeah, I agree. Caraxes MVP, Sunfire plopping down in Harrenhal, second place. Yes, yes. I can't wait to see more, more clear pictures of Sunfire. Like, we've gotten a good close-up of his face when he first appeared to come back to life. That was awesome. My vacuum is going at it again. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed this. I've actually been enjoying doing these breakdowns, even when I don't have anybody here. I feel like this has been a good way to do a live stream, because when I first started out, I started out trying to do a full reaction to the first episode of House of the Dragon. That did not go. They shut that down right away. and what I tried to do is basically just I tried to just show images every now and then, like show the video every now and then. The problem is that I did not have audio set up correctly. I didn't know how to do the audio correctly, so you could hear the show in the background the whole time. There was no way at that time for me to muffle it out, so they shut it down right away. And then the next thing I tried to do for a live stream was to actually pre-record a full live stream and edit out most of the sound edit out most of the video, and then just like every now and then I'd put the video in like a long strip at the top, or a really tiny like squished up full thing with the sound going. But I found that it has so much dead air. Like, most of the time you're reacting, you're not saying anything or doing anything, especially me. I'm mostly just quiet, so I did not like it. I don't know what anybody else thought of it, but I didn't like it. This I actually like. I've been enjoying this, so so I am probably going to continue doing this. I do have another one though that I am going to be doing like that, because I already pre-recorded it and already edited a bunch of videos so that I could do the full-length reaction without getting it shut off. But after that, I'm probably going to stop doing those because I just don't like that format. But anyway, that's all I got for you for now. Oh, wait a minute. I do want to go over my schedule really quick, because it is changing, because everything is over pretty much. So I've still got House of the Dragon on here, but this is my last House of the Dragon. Dunk and Egg next year I will definitely be doing. But right now I'm doing Tokyo Ghoul Re Part 2. Once that's over, I will be doing Demon Slayer. I do an anime reaction with my youngest kid once a week, so every Friday. Heartstopper, they switched from a season to a movie. So the last movie came out while I was on vacation, and I'm going to be doing a breakdown and discussion kind of like this, except it's full movie length. And then I plan on, and I don't know what day, it'll be whenever I have it ready. And then after that, I plan on trying to do things because I'm not ready for it to end. So I plan on doing things to kind of like maybe go over themes that happened in the movie, kind of more thoroughly go over individuals and couples or something like that were in the movie. We'll see. I only have a couple things planned right now that I'm working on, but I have some ideas. I want to try to do some sort of Heartstopper content once a week. I don't know what day it'll be. It'll be whenever I feel like I get them ready. And I am going to be starting a live read. I already did Handmaid's Tale and the Testaments. Next, I am going to be doing this Princesses Behaving Badly. Oh, you can't see it. Princesses Behaving Badly. Most of my books are packed up right now, and I'm not going to go into my boxes to unpack them. So I'm just kind of dealing with what I have, and I only use stuff that's available free online or that I already have on hand. So Princesses Behaving Badly, I will start probably next week, and the Heartstopper content will start next week. And House of the Dragon is over. I already finished Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and Bridgerton doesn't start till I think 2027. The next House of the Dragon doesn't start till 2028. Three Body Problem starts sometime in 2026, but they haven't given it a date. What else? Testaments, I'm not sure exactly when they're starting that. So anyway, that's all I got for you. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.